Nearly 5 years after President Obama nominated him for the Supreme Court, Merrick Garland is finally getting a confirmation hearing in the Senate today. But this time it's for Attorney General. Garland telling the Senate Judiciary Committee the threat from white supremacy is worse than it was after the Oklahoma City bombing more than 25 years ago.
We are facing a more dangerous period than we faced in Oklahoma City at that time. From what I have seen, and I have no inside information about how the department is developing its work, it looks like an extremely aggressive and perfectly appropriate beginning to an investigation all across the country in the same way our original Oklahoma City investigation was.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Hake joining me now. Garrett, you've got a front row seat, if you will, to today's proceedings. Garland calling the January 6th storming of the Capitol a heinous attack. What else did he say today about prosecuting the people behind it?
This was very much a topic of conversation in the first hour or so of the hearing. It's going to be a major issue for at least the first year or so of Merrick Garland's term as Attorney General, and he said he would be dealing with it essentially right away. Here's part of his answer to a question on that topic at the very start of this hearing.
One of the very first things I will do is get a briefing on the progress of this investigation. I intend to give the career prosecutors who are working on this matter 24/7 all of the resources they could possibly require to do this. And at the same time, I intend to make sure that we look more broadly, to look at where this is coming from, what other groups there might be that could raise the same problem in the future, and that we protect the American people.
Garland got pushed a little bit in both directions on this issue during the hearing. Democrats wanted to make sure he will go far enough up the chain to investigate the attack on the Capitol, including all the way to President Trump. Republicans wanted to make sure that Garland wouldn't be pushed by political pressure to go after his perceived or his, his president, Joe Biden's perceived political enemies. So clearly going to be an issue to watch with the Justice Department under Attorney General Garland.
Yeah, Garrett, Republicans asked Garland how he'd handle conflicts of interest and requests from the White House. What did he say to that one?
He really tried to turn down the temperature on this, suggesting that this is not going to be an issue under a President Biden as it was under a President Trump. Take a listen to part of his answer here.
If you were asked to do something that you considered to be in violation of the law or unethical, would you resign?
Well, the first thing I would do is to tell the president or whoever else was asking me to do that, that it was unlawful. I do not expect this to happen with this president, who has made it completely clear publicly and in private that he will not do that. But of course, if I am asked to do something and an alternative is not accepted, I would resign, yes.
On this issue, too, Garland getting pushed a little bit to separate himself from two of his more political predecessors, one each from both parties, that he wouldn't be another Bill Barr or that he wouldn't be another Eric Holder, someone who a lot of the Republicans on the committee saw as a precursor to the more politically charged heads of the DOJ that we saw under the Trump administration.
Garrett, it took a while for Garland to get here, but in the end, he does seem likely to get confirmed. Any major issues from the Republicans that could hold up this confirmation?
None to date. We're coming to the end of this hearing now. We're just a few senators left to speak here behind me. The only senator who's really expressed anything that I would even describe as opposition to Garland was Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas, who pushed Garland pretty hard on his views on the death penalty and on racial equity, two issues that are sort of central to the Republican opposition to the Biden agenda, at least as it relates to criminal justice. I could see Garland getting upwards of 80 votes for confirmation, though he does. He appears to be drawing pretty broad Republican support so far.
Garrett, Senator Ted Cruz was at that hearing today in person. What issues in particular did he bring up with Garland? And did anyone take issue with Cruz for not quarantining after that trip to CANCUN last week? What are you hearing on the Hill?
Cruz, raised some of these issues around Eric Holder. He was, I would say, less aggressive in his line of questioning than I certainly expected, and that those of us who have watched Ted Cruz in the judiciary format have come to expect. Some of that may be related to his recent public relations struggles over the last week or so. And no, I've not heard any complaints from anyone about the COVID-related aspects of his travel. But remember, the Senate is now very much unlike any other group of people you're going to deal with in most of the rest of the country. Almost all of them have received their full vaccinations up to this point. So while you're still seeing mask wearing and so forth, COVID takes on a little bit of a different character here than it does in most other places in the country.
Yeah, definitely. Garrett, let's talk COVID relief. We know the House Budget Committee is marking up that bill today. What's the latest there?
Well, Democrats think they're still on track to have this bill passed out of both chambers by mid-March to try to stay ahead of that deadline at which more unemployment benefits will expire. We've got that Budget Committee markup. That's the last step, really, before the whole House starts to get involved. It'll go through rules. It'll end up on the floor. Democrats are hoping to vote on it by the end of this week. Now, they might stretch the definition of the end of this week. You might see a vote over the weekend, perhaps, to make sure they're able to get it done in the House. Then this moves to the Senate side, and it's not entirely clear if the Senate will even refer elements of this bill to committee or if they'll try to do all of their work on it on the floor. But next week, we could also get a little bit bogged down in some of those Senate procedural hurdles on things about reconciliation that we'll have plenty of time to discuss next week, I'm sure.
All right, Garrett Hake on Capitol Hill. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Allison.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.